Hello, my name is Razvan Preotu. I'm a chess grandmaster from Canada, and my major is computer science. Okay, so today I'll be showing my round 5 game against Gabuzian. I was playing white, and at this point, so this was round 5, we both had 3.5 out of 4, so we were the sole leaders of the tournament so far. So it was an important game at the time for the standings.
Can you put a bigger board? Just like,
Yeah, track that.
no, just like,
Yeah,
oh,
drag
yeah,
this.
like that.
Oh, just drag it? Okay. So it was a Knight or Sicilian. I didn't have much time to prepare because they did post pairings like 5 minutes before the game, so I didn't prepare at all. I just played my normal English attack setup. E5. So he played the H5 variation, which is very popular. Stops white's main plan of G4. So now the lines with long castle don't really provide anything, so knight d5's become like the main move here. He played a kind of a side variation. The main line is to just take with the bishop and play g6. And fianchetto castle short. But instead he took with the knight. And bishop f5. So black keeps the bishop pair, but wastes time moving the bishop. So here I was in I knew the main plan for white's just to play bishop e2, short castle, and then play like c4, rook c1, that kind of stuff. But during the game, I thought well, first he prepared that probably because I don't think he normally plays this. And also knight a5 looked interesting to me, attacking b7. So the knight's pretty common here because it puts pressure on the queen side and it stops the b pawn from moving because then knight c6 is really strong. So in the game, he played queen c7. So maybe rook b8's better to keep the queen off the c file because in the game I had I think a pretty strong idea with rook c1, threatening bishop d3 because if he takes, then my rook opens up, hitting the queen. So in the game he just ignored that, which I don't think he should have done. Probably should have moved the knight. So now the queen has the d7 square. So bishop d3, queen d7 is not as good anymore because now the d5 pawn's hanging. But instead I can just play like bishop e2 and it probably just transposes to normal variations. But black was committed to move the knight, so that could be something. So instead he went bishop e7, so bishop d3. So taking doesn't seem very good because I have this queen b4 move attacking b7. And then after knight f6, I could just play like queen b3, defending d5. And black can't stop knight takes b7 because moving the b pawn allows knight c6, which looks pretty bad. So this should be better for white. So instead he just played g6. But now, I can take on f5 at any point, ruining the pawn structure, and black can't castle and be very too safe because now, with the double g pawn, doubled f pawns. But I shouldn't take right away because that opens the g file. So keep the tension for now. He went h4, trying to create weaknesses with h3. So here I thought I should open the position because his king is still in the middle, or at least attempt to. So I play at f4. Now I'm also threatening to take on f5, take on e5 because now my rook attacks the f5 pawn. He played h3. So I was also looking at e4, bishop e2, and say knight f6. Yeah. But I found a nice idea, knight c4, which I was going to prepare. So say if black just castles, I have bishop b6 and knight e3. And this looks pretty nice for white because the knight blockades the pawn and black doesn't have much play, so I can just push my queenside pawns. And if he plays b5 to stop bishop b6, then I just go back to a5 and play knight c6, c4. So I was happy if he played this. So I guess that's why he played h3. So this forces g3 because I don't want to open the h file. So e4, bishop b2 is roughly the same. So instead he took on f4, which isn't, I don't think it's very good because it just opens my rook. But I guess he wanted to make it unbalanced, I guess, because he gets the e5 square for the knight. Take, take. So I thought taking on f5 could be dangerous because black can, like, he can throw this move in first because I have to move my rook since knight f3 check. Then maybe long castle and like rook g8 stuff, but it's not very dangerous, so I can probably still just attack on the queen side, and this should be a lot better for white. But in the game, I wasn't so sure. So I thought I should trade off the strong knight on e5 because, you know, it's very dangerous with options to head to f3, g4. So I thought I found this like cute idea of knight c4. So the idea is if he takes queen c3 and like double attack on the rook and the knight. So that's why in the game he played queen c4 to go into an endgame. But turns out this actually is fine for black because black has the strong move rook c8, take here, and now if I just move my queen, black can like take on e3, bishop g5, everything's fine. So best is to take on c4, but then like, you know, black's queen is really active, and he wins c2, so it's just equal. So we both missed like this rook c8 idea. I was looking also at bishop g5, attacking the rook, but this is winning for white. I can just take on e5, and then take again on e5, because if queen takes rook e1, and if queen c5, bishop d4, queen e2, and I win the rook on h8. So played queen takes c4, which is the only other option other than knight takes c4. Rook takes, check. So here, I wasn't sure where to move my king, because king f2 makes sense because it's like closer to the middle, but I thought if I go king h1, maybe I have rook f1 to take on f5 and win a pawn. So I didn't spend enough time. I played the wrong choice, which was king h1. He took king d7. So rook f1 was my idea. But now black has a strong reply, which we both missed, was rook c8. So forcing an exchange of one pair of rooks. And then rook e8. So with the idea, if rook takes bishop g5 and rook e2, and then black has enough play for a draw because, you know, he wins the bishop. Yeah. So if this doesn't work, then the best is like rook e1, but then white doesn't really have anything anymore after rook c8. Because then I can't win my pawn. So. But instead he played b5. So attacking the rook. Rook c8. So now I take on f5. So I win the pawn because f7 hangs. So here I thought I should be winning with like good technique, but turns out I made it pretty difficult. So king g1 to get the king out. Bishop d8. So now here I wanted to also win the h3 pawn with rook h7, rook takes h3. But I think it's best to just bring the king to f3 and then like push the g pawn to stop like black's rook from coming in, and should be winning with like the best play. So, but instead I went rook h7, or no, king f1 first. to stop rook e2. Bishop e6, rook h7. But now black's rook gets to the second rank, which makes it very difficult to move my pawns now, and my king's also cut off. Rook h6, king d5. So my idea was to play bishop e1. So now that g3 is defended, I can move the h-pawn, and c2 is also defended because I'm the king. But it's still, even after I play h4, it would be hard to really advance the pawns because black's rook can always go to h2. And also black has counterplay now with ideas of bishop d4 at some point. So I played h4. So that wasn't the best. Turns out this was actually a nice idea, rook h5 check, provoking the king. So if he goes back, that's good for me because the king was cut off. And now if he goes here, check. He has to go to e3 because otherwise they can take on b4. And then rook h6, the rook goes to e6, which is a good square because it makes it so it defends the bishop. So rook g1, bishop f2 ideas isn't good. And then the king is also not very well placed on e3. So then I can push my pawns. So instead of playing h4, a5. So now black's ready to play bishop d4, which is very annoying because if I play b3, then there's ideas of bishop c3 right away, or rook g1 and then bishop c3. So I went rook h7 because the rook wasn't doing much on h6, and I wanted to maybe have the option to go to the e file, defending the bishop. Bishop d4, b3, bishop e5, attacking the pawn. Now here, I went rook e7 to defend the bishop in the future. But
Put h5.
Sorry?
Can you push h5?
h5 now?
It's not going further.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
And
rook
also
e7,
rook g1
c5.
could be, or what else? So black can play like rook h2. And also, I wasn't even sure of endgames with this, because now black has threats with rook d2 check. And then if I go to c1, he can go back, and I have to go back because of the mating nets. So, but it turns out rook f7 was the best. So the idea is to go behind the h-pawn, rook f1, rook h1. So give the g3 pawn, but push the h-pawn. Black can't take on g3 because of rook g7. And also now, after here, check. So I have bishop f2, because now the bishop's defended by the rook. So if take, king f1, white wins. So black has to play king e4. But I think this should be winning because the rook is behind the pawn, right? So yeah, I think rook f7 was winning idea to bring the rook behind the pawn because black can't really prevent that very well. Maybe he has to go rook h2 or something, but then I can push the g-pawn. So, but I missed that. So I played rook e7. And now after rook g1, I can't move my king to e2 anymore because yeah, just rook g2 check, and I have to go back or lose the pawn.
Why you have to do
Or I can go.
king d3?
Yeah, so maybe first.
King e4.
Yeah, king e4.
King f2?
H1.
Yeah, rook h1. And black seems to be holding. Black's pieces are a lot more active. g1. So black's also threatening to take on g3 now. So King e2 was the best attempt, so after taking on to go to this rook endgame, I mean, take, rook here, but with precise play, black should be able to draw because he wins the c3 pawn, and then with the d pawn as counterplay should be enough, like rook behind the pawn, king c3. So instead I played g4, hoping to like give the pawn so I can move my king out, but that was a mistake because after bishop f6, h4 is hanging, so I have to go to h7, but then bishop c3, and then I have to repeat. I have nothing better. So yeah, it ended in a draw. So yeah, that was my game. I think I played very well in the opening middle game, but then the end game I didn't show the best technique, but still, before it was a good game.
Not the best, but not the worst.
Yeah, like I went to the end game better, right? So I wasn't defending it.
Rook h7 looked a little greedy.
Yeah, I should have.
I thought you were
Just
going
push
to
the
win
G
easily
pawn.
that ending without rook h7.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure if you had one more, you would win.
One more.
One more pawn. I'm pretty sure.
I needed 3 pawns, right?
Maybe one more attempt.
If you had 3, you would win it. I'm pretty sure.
All right, thank you.